Don't worry, we'll sort it for you. Never focus with a common fault for you.
Please just take that back. Right, we'll sort it, don't worry. Things I hate about you. You were looking into my eyes, it was so sweet. Yeah, that was. We expect me to say something really nice.
No.
Right, so we're underneath this car. We've replaced some drive shafts already on it for some Recon Ford ones, the best ones you can get on the market, in fairness. It's probably better to buy Recon ones instead of genuine new ones because they come with the same warranty anyway, don't they, Ben? But these are probably the bane of everyone's life. Lower a car, it causes you problems. Don't lower a car, it causes you problems. I don't know what the world is coming to, but this is probably, what do you reckon, #1 on the list of pain for owners and pain for us, isn't it? Don't you think?
Most likely, yeah.
So yeah, this one had some drive shafts about 5 months ago. It is lowered, so that puts more strain on the drive shaft, doesn't it, Ben? You can get those little spaces. In our opinion, they don't do anything really to assist the situation. I think you can just get a good or a bad Recon, can't you, really, more than anything. I don't even know, I can't even really explain it. The clamping load on the CV joints, if someone else does it, they can't get it right, and that's been proven time and time again. When you knock the centre joint apart on a long shaft, they have to repair the inside of the cup, don't they, Ben? And that causes issues in itself. There's just so many issues, there's way too many for a video, but we'll probably I'll try and get Ben to just indicate how you can check the play in a drive shaft. That's really difficult to do and really difficult to show in a video, but we'll give it a go now, and we'll come back to you with #2 on the list of things that we really don't like about these cars. Here we are, in no particular order. Another thing I really hate about these is this. These caps, which incidentally, just perfectly for me, are loose on this particular wheel nut. Now you can see the rest of them haven't even got that cap on. Now this is another common fault of the Focus Mark II, whether it be an RS or an ST. The little silver covers that come on the wheel nuts, they either spin off, get stuck, get damaged and look horrible, horrific in fact. They just cause issues. So that's #2, 3, 4, whatever it is, however Lee edits this video, but that is one thing I hate about these cars, the nut covers.
Problems with Focuses, Tony, go.
Ford.
#whatever, swollen pipes. Now I really hate this about Focus STs because more and more, now that we're coming to these cars and they're of that age, as my parents would say, more and more of the coolant pipes are becoming swollen. So what this means is that you're just chasing your tail forever. Now the most common one is this little short pipe here, which is to the left hand side of the engine bay. This particular customer's changed the hoses to silicone ones. The other common fault is the ones to the rear, which are the matrix ones. Those swell up as well. But in fairness, once you've got one swollen pipe, you might as well get rid of it and upgrade them to silicone versions. So that's another tip. Check your hoses. No one likes a swollen hose.
So what's a common fault to Fords?
Well, over the years, the Fords I've dealt with, the most common fault is water leakage round seals and in boots, and loom and electrical problems.
Just because you all love it so much. Anyway, as you can see, this is an upgraded lid, so version 5. I've just brought it, kind of to demonstrate. So what happens is, on the original one, without this vent at the rear, the diaphragm, which is rubber, plastic, whatever, well, yeah, rubber more than anything, inside here, an orange little diaphragm actually splits, and that's what causes the noise. You can also get, as some of the comments on the previous video, oil leaking out from around the top of the lid. Now that's normally something entirely different, but that is a big pain in the derriere for these cars. Oil filter housings, they're the bane of everyone's life. If you've got a one, it's probably best to get it changed so that you don't end up with oil leaking from the cam seals at the right hand side of your engine. So, big tip, if you've got a 1 at the end, so that's a 5, if you've got a 1, consider changing it, because you're probably going to be doing it at some point and it could cost yourself more money in the long run. So yeah, oil filter housings.
Common faults of STs, go.
Drivers.
Here's one you probably didn't expect. Clutch master cylinder. Now, as these cars are getting older, these are becoming more common. We haven't done that many of them, but are certainly a pain in the derriere. Now, failure of this particular component can cause your clutch pedal to feel odd. It can cause it to drop when you get air into the system, and so on and so forth. The biggest thing about this is it's a pain to install. So as these are becoming older, this is definitely one thing that I would highlight as being one of my least favourite things about the Focus ST. Clutch master cylinder.
Common faults with Fords, mate.
Hey?
Common faults with Fords.
Buying one.
Hey, guess what? It's me, Darren. I'm going to show you another thing I hate. Rusty bolts on the rear. Now, these are the bane of everyone's life. When you come to doing alignment, this is probably the biggest fear. Rusty bolts, rusty washers, it's just going to cause you absolute pain. So in this instance, what we'd recommend doing is changing the bush inside here, changing the bolts themselves, and probably addressing the other end. The alternative option is to replace the entire lower. Alongside that, we can highly recommend doing these drop links, because they're becoming of that age when they need doing on pretty much any make or model car anyway. But for this point number 936, those bolts there and the subframe itself at the rear, now that's a pain.
Common problem with the Focus, go.
Drive shafts all the time.
As you may have seen in the clip before, the gentleman made an absolutely perfect point that I'd completely forgotten about, because we don't see so much of it, because it's more prevalent in the Mark III rather than the Mark II. So, leaks, bodywork leaks. Now, on the Focus, they can leak mainly at the rear, behind the lights, by the hinges, behind the actual spoiler itself, and various other locations. On the Mark III, there's actually a vent behind the bumper that leaks, and that's a really common fault, whether it be on a Mark III Focus ST, a Mark III RS, or any of the derivatives, so the 1.6s, any of the diesels, that vent actually leaks behind there. But most commonly on the Focus ST, we find these days is that the grommets behind the lights leak, so the fixings themselves, and it gives you a wet boot. That is really frustrating and really difficult for people to find. Yeah, we've been asked quite a few times. We don't do a lot of repairs like that. Mainly they send them to body shops, etc., to find the leaks, but that is definitely a common fault on the Mark II. Common fault number 6774 for the Focus ST. Lacquer peel, as there, and rubbing between the bumper itself on the rear and the rear arch. As you can see here, it's already started just there. But the most common places for the lacquer peel to occur are on the rear bumper and on the front bumper. There is more common paint colours for lacquer peel, so I believe that the Performance Blue and the Electric Orange, plus sometimes the Ultimate Green, are the ones to suffer the most with lacquer peel. However, all the others seem to do it a little bit as well. I don't know what it is about them, but certainly with the lacquer peel itself, it does appear after time. and with the rubbing between the bumper and the rear quarter, that's been a common fault for many years, and people have tried putting rubber in between here to solve it and so on and so forth. I think it's just an fitment issue. Some people don't suffer from it at all, but others suffer from it to a serious extreme where they've had to get Ford either to do a warranty repair to the paintwork, or in latter years have had to actually pay for it themselves. So that's another thing that I don't like about the Mark II. This car's got everything I need to explain some points. So another thing that I hate about the Focus Mark II on any model of the Mark II is actually, look down, the bonnet lock. Now this one's been removed and he's installed some aero catches, and the reason why he's done that is because these latches actually fail. They can fail in the centre, or the little plus shape or cross shape at the rear of it can fail. Now many people put the aero catches on, or some convert to a bonnet latch system, a bonnet latch system from a Mondeo or similar. So that is definitely something. I don't even know why Ford would do it. Why would you even do that? Why would you make something like that? When it fails, you've got to press down on the bonnet and wiggle the key, push it in, and try and get the bonnet to lift onto the first latch. Once you do that, you think you're on a winner. But no, you've got a second latch to get past, so you've got to play with that. And you can end up with a dent here. Most commonly, you'll see dents here where people have had the bonnet latch fail, and that just means they've probably replaced the bonnet latch at some point if it's working. Some people just completely leave a hole there and just use a long screwdriver to open the bonnet and just live with it. But that is one thing I hate about these cars. Another thing that I hate about these vehicles, this is the cold side boost pipe from a Focus ST Mark II. Now, as you can see here, this is the 𝘬𝘵𝑚𝗶𝘴 takeoff pipe, and you can see the cracks in the rubber. You can also see that these deteriorate on the coupling itself and leak from the top. They leak from here. They leak between the actual bridges themselves, or the concertinas on the hose themselves. They can fracture there. They're just a nightmare, if I'm honest, in terms of boost leaks. So this is certainly something I'd recommend upgrading to avoid faults in the future. And it's another thing that I hate about these cars. I wouldn't say this is something I hate about the car, but Al's just handed it me now, and I feel obliged to hold it and say something about it. Now, it's an alternator for a Mark II. Now, these are becoming more of a common fault. They certainly weren't in the beginning, unlike some of the other things that we've mentioned. But more and more common now are we finding failures with batteries and with charging systems, specifically the alternator. So, what you need to do is test your charging, and to do that you're going to need to put it on a testing system. We use a snap-on charger here, which can also test the charging capacity of the alternator itself. You can do this with things like the lights running, the radio on, and the fans blaring to get a good idea. If it isn't right, then it's probably going to cause you all sorts of faults, system faults, acceleration faults, and so on and so forth. And this becomes very confusing for customers, and they think they've got a massive issue with their car because all these warnings come up, but they're all related to this little thing here, which is quite expensive to replace. We also have listed on our web store an upgraded version for those running Civex where the smart charge isn't working. So see the website store.BD for more information. But again, this is another thing that I'm going to say dislike about the Focus ST, because this is a maintenance issue anyway, so I can't be so horrible as to say I really hate it. So yeah. Alternator. Oh, hiya. Yeah. Dashboard, clocks. Now inside here is a circuit board, and you get dry solder joints. Now the way to tell, or one of the ways to tell if you've got this fault, is that you get all manner of faults again associated with electrics, so engine system fault, power steering malfunction, all sorts of wizardry. Now you can get hunted idle, you can get issues with running. Generally, to determine whether you've actually got that fault, if you press to the right hand side of your dashboard or knock it hard with your fist, if it clears itself for a second and then comes back, that's normally something to do with the dashboard. Now this is a complete pain, needs stripping apart, and the dry solder joints need redoing, which will in many occasions solve the fault, but this is certainly one of the big things that I hate about the Focus Mark II. Hiya, it's me again with another fault. This time it's going to be these big bad boys here, rear wishbone bushes on the front. Now these go grey and they split, they're oil filled, and this means that this actual wishbone, when you're setting off, can travel backwards and forwards somewhat. It also causes all sorts of knocks. Now over the years they've done upgrades, some of which have become squeaky when the grease has actually come out of the carrier itself. They're a pain to get out, they're a pain to install, and they're a pain when they've gone, that's for certain. So that is definitely one of the top tips. If you get someone else to get in the car and set off in a jerking motion, if you see the wheel travel backwards before the motion starts, then you've probably got an issue with your rear wishbone bush on your front wishbone itself. As if by magic, the same car again. This has already had a repair washer to it, but as you can see, these tin or heat shields get knocked about over the years and become loose and cause all sorts of rattling issues. Perfect, there it is. Now this isn't a car that we've worked on underneath before, but as you can see, the tin itself corrodes and comes away from the washer, or the washered nut should I say, and can cause you all sorts of vibration issues. Now the cheat is to repair it with a repair washer, as has been done by someone else before here. Not sure what that bit is, but that's the cheat. Or you can buy all new tin for around about £300 or £400, and then you can reinstall it with the washers and get rid of that issue. That's definitely something to consider if you were doing an underbody restoration to make it perfect. But this definitely hits the list. Who on earth would want that tinny noise from your car as you're going over bumps and speed humps and so on and so forth? So under trays, you're on my top 10. What would be the worst job on one of these Focuses you could do if you were fat like me? This, the clutch return spring. Now this again causes your pedal to drop and can be a right pain to replace. On the forums years ago, I can remember seeing thread after thread about these bad boys. But yes, clutch return spring, you definitely make my top 10.
Oh no!
The wheels on the Focus go round and round. Not when you've got a ruined wheel bearing. Well, it does go round, but it makes a really annoying noise. So yeah, this is definitely one of the things that are most common on the Focus now over the years, especially the front ones. Now this is a rear one, but you can't actually necessarily feel the play in the bearing itself these days. What we commonly find is that you can actually sometimes hear it, and more often tell with the thermometer which particular wheel bearing's been affected. Now the front ones you've got to press out. They are an absolute nightmare. We've got a press block and they're still a pain to get out, not so bad to install. But yeah, wheel bearings certainly hit the top 10, that's for sure. I would throw this, but the floor's dented enough as it is, so wheel bearings, I'm out. So, if you didn't... What?
Spit it out.
I did. Did you not see it? So I've got a tissue. So, if you've really enjoyed Ben talking through this video, he's absolutely amazing explanation of the 10 things that he hates about these cars. I couldn't have done it any better myself. If you've enjoyed that, then please subscribe to the channel
hit the bell button.
Comment down below,
And that.
like and share.
Like and share.
Yeah, and if you've got any questions for Max, then let him know and he'll do his best to get back to you. But let us know in the comments what you'd like to see next, whether you'd like to see 10 things we like about focuses. We don't.
That won't make a very good video.
2 things we like about focuses, right? Then, only joking. Yeah, 10 things we love about focus.
I was struggling with 2, to be honest.
Anyway, if you'd like to see some more content and you've got a specific idea, then feel free to check it in the comments down below and we'll do our very best to make that happen for you. But for now, Ben, you've been a star, if I'm honest. I couldn't have done it any better myself. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, can I go now?